Welcome back, dear listeners, to another episode of A Nice Cup of History. This week we have the honour of telling the story and achievements of a true national treasure here in the UK. A man whose tireless love and fascination with the natural world have helped to educate generations about the world around us.
We are recording this just days after his landmark 100th birthday. We are of course talking about the one and only Sir David Attenborough. His voice is instantly recognisable. His voice is instantly recognisable, and he is one of the greats of wildlife study and conservation.
So grab your video camera, put on your best khaki outfit, write that birthday card, and let's get historical.
Now, we are both in our late 30s.
That's just made me throw up in my mouth.
Yep. And we have grown up knowing Sir David Attenborough on our screens. I actually remember my parents having copies of The Living Planet on VHS, which ages us if nothing else does. And I can still remember the vivid colours on the cassette covers. My parents sat me down one day after I asked what it was, and we watched it together. And I remember being fascinated by all of the incredible creatures, as well as the calm voice of the man narrating it. And between him, the late great Steve Irwin, and the books of Gerard Durrell, I've been lucky enough to learn a lot about the natural world from, frankly, some of the greatest teachers.
But who is Sir David Attenborough? This almost legendary figure is the collective conscious, and I've forgotten how to word. That's great because he's such a good guy. He does all the good wording.
Yep.
What he has achieved in his life that makes him so special, not just to us, but to the planet.
You're so excited to talk about this fantastic man that you've just malfunctioned.
Honestly, I did just properly malfunctions because I think conscious, it does not look like that. Is that even what it says?
Consciousness or conscience, collective conscience. Yeah.
See, that doesn't look like that's what that says.
It looks like it should say conscience.
Yes, and my dyslexic brain went, is that what it says?
But if there's conscience, that suggests the existence of pro-science. And how is that said if conscience is its potience? Rabbit hole.
We have delved. Dove?
We've just fallen. We've fallen and we can't get up. Right.
This bodes well.
Let's get back on track with early life and education. So the man who would later become a Knight of the Realm was born David Frederick Attenborough in Isleworth in the county of Middlesex, England, on the 8th of May 1926 to Frederick Attenborough and Mary Clegg. He was the middle child of 3 sons, with his older brother Richard and his younger brother John. You may have heard of at least his older brother before, though you may not necessarily know of the connection. His older brother would go on to become Lord Richard Attenborough, actor, director, and probably most iconically known for his roles as Santa in Miracle on 34th Street and John Hammond in Jurassic Park, my favourite franchise of all time. But his career highlights and talents are honestly far too many to list. Plus, it's kind of not his episode, so sorry, Lord Richard.
Yeah, our bad. So David's childhood was spent in College House, which was located on campus at the University College in Leicester, which is where his father worked as the principal. Though only a child, his interest in the natural world around him was already starting to show, as he started to collect fossils, specimens, and types of stone. Sounds very much like you.
I like shiny stones.
Amongst some of the people he came in contact with, one was the incredible Jaquita Hawkes, the first woman in history to study archaeology and anthropology at the Cambridge University, and is a renowned writer in her field.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that widely known, but it was very, very late on that women were able to study at university, let alone the likes of Cambridge and Oxford. It took a while, so that's a big achievement for her. Conservation and the impact that humanity is having on the natural world was brought to the attention of David and his older brother Richard when they attended a lecture at De Montfort Hall in Leicester given by Archibald Bellamy regarding the Canadian beaver and the risks to the local wilderness and ecosystem as a whole should they not be saved from extinction. This lit a fire in young David and heavily influenced the rest of his life.
A lecture about the Canadian beaver.
I mean, it was about conservation as a whole, but the main focus was the Canadian beaver. And
I just find that of all the animals, I never thought it would have been the lowly Canadian beaver that would ignite the passion.
I mean, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Beavers are pretty cool, though.
They are.
They are. They can stop an entire river. Beavers are the best.
Anywho, so David received a strong education at the Wigeston Grammar School for Boys in Leicester and was such an adept student that he won himself a scholarship to the Clare College in Cambridge, which he attended in 1945 to study geology and zoology, graduating with a degree in natural sciences. I'm guessing none of that came as a shock to anyone.
No. We do have to address the time period a bit here, though, as 1939 to 1945 is what's commonly known as the Second World War or World War II, where, in a very, very broad nutshell, the Allied forces, including, but absolutely by no means limited to, England, France, and latterly the United States, fought against the rise of fascism and the machinations of the Nazi Party, known as the Axis of Evil, including, but again not limited to, Germany, Italy, and latterly Japan. We do talk more in depth about this in our episode, lest we forget.
David was a boy during this time, and whilst we know that some people did fib a little about their age in order to serve, looking at you, Carrie's granddad Ingram, so David was only 12 years old when the war broke out, but that didn't mean that his life was not impacted, and in a very fitting way for him. His parents, Frederick and Mary, were involved in the humanitarian efforts, supporting the refugee children's movement, and the family fostered two young Jewish girls fleeing Nazi persecution, Irene and Helga Bajak?
I think it's Bajak or Bayak.
I always apologise for my very bad pronunciation of most things, but I mean no offence when I say things wrong. The two arrived in England on the Kinder Transport, which was a mass effort to help the children escape to freedom. The boys were encouraged to treat the girls as sisters, with Sir David himself recalling when his parents told them, "We are now one family." That's so lovely.
It is, and a lot of families did that, and it just seems very fitting that his did.
Yeah.
Whilst his experience of the Second World War was through a humanitarian and social lens, he was later called upon in 1947 for compulsory national service as part of the Royal Navy, where he was stationed for 2 years, first in North Wales and later in the Firth of Forth up in Scotland.
That's cool. So now aged 23, Sir David began his working life with a publishing company where he edited children's science textbooks. However, he was not satisfied with this work, and in 1950 he applied for a job as a producer for talking radio with the BBC. He was initially rejected for this role, can you believe it? But his CV was instead picked up by Mary Adams. Adams at the time was the head of the factual broadcasting unit in the early days of the BBC television service known as Talks.
Television was a relatively new concept at that point, and there was no guarantee that it would take off, so it was a gamble.
Can you imagine TV being a gamble?
Well, Sir David didn't even actually own a TV at that point. At the time he started working for them, he'd probably only seen like 1 or 2 TV programmes in his life.
That's crazy.
Which is insane. But he did accept the offer and he joined, starting on a 3-month training course. He finally joined the BBC full-time in 1952, which was a year before television's arguably most important moment, in 1953, with the first ever televised coronation when Queen Elizabeth II of England acceded to the throne.
Sir David was initially encouraged to stay behind the camera, not in front, as Mary Adams believed that his teeth were too big, a comment to which David has recently quipped that they have since worn down. He started as a producer for Talks, responsible for non-fiction broadcasts. He eventually got his first big break in front of the camera with Animal Patterns, a show that he produced and presented on National History, in conjunction with the London Zoo, featuring evolutionary biologist Julian Huxley.
Following this, David began working with the curator of the London Zoo Reptile House.
The word zoo just lost left your vocabulary.
I just, for some reason, I couldn't say the word zoo. The London Zoo Reptile House, Jack Lester, and together they worked on a show called Zoo Quest, which was initially meant to be presented by Lester and discussing expeditions where animals were collected for conservation at the zoo. However, Lester took ill at the last minute, so Sir David had to step in and present the show in his stead. Could you imagine if Lester had gone ahead with it?
Oh, we'd be doing a different podcast now.
Yep.
It was during this time that Sir David's family life began to change when, in 1950, he married Jane Elizabeth Ebsworth Orrell. Together, they would go on to have 2 children, Robert and Susan Attenborough. Born in Merthyr Tydfil in Wales, David and Jane were very much in love when they married at the respective ages of 24 and 23, with him describing his wife as his anchor of his life. They remained married for an incredible 47 years until Jane tragically died suddenly of a brain hemorrhage in 1997. Their son Robert is now a senior lecturer in anthropology, working for the School of Archaeology and Anthropology in Canberra in Australia as part of the Australian National University. Their daughter Susan, who was recently seen accompanying her father for his birthday celebrations at the Royal Albert Hall, was a primary school headmistress. It's fitting that both children worked in education given their lineage.
It was because of this growing young family that David turned down an offer in 1957 to join the newly formed BBC Natural History Unit in Bristol, as this would take him away from his family or force them to move from their home in London. Instead, his solution was to form his own travel and exploration unit, on which he continued Zoo Quest, whilst producing other documentaries such as Traveller's Tales. And it was whilst on the set of Zoo Quest in 1958 that David encountered 2 young but very important children, the then 9-year-old Prince Charles, now King Charles III, and his sister Princess Anne, the Princess Royal.
I'm pretty sure that picture has been released by King Charles as of Friday to celebrate
I think
Sir David's birthday.
Cockatiel they're holding, or
it's some sort of bird.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a big bird. Impressive plumage.
Very impressive plumage. That's really made me laugh. Oh dear. Anyway, in the 1960s, Sir David took the choice to resign as a permanent member of staff for the BBC and took up study of a postgraduate degree in social anthropology through the London School of Economics. He never actually finished this degree, however, as he was still filming at the time, and was then invited back to the BBC as the controller of the new channel, BBC Two, in March of 1965, as a successor to Michael Peacock. He was clever, as you would expect, and asked for a clause to be inserted into his contract to allow him to continue making the occasional programme, which we are grateful that he did.
BBC Two was only launched in 1964, and it wasn't doing so great at the time. But Sir David, turned it around, including a series of educational programmes alongside others that he commissioned, and we can thank him for commissioning the iconic comedy programme Monty Python's Flying Circus, which launched the careers of, amongst others, John Cleese and Eric Idle.
I didn't know that was Sir David. That's so cool.
I didn't know that either. That was one thing I was like, I'm going to include that. That is cool. That is interesting.
Absolutely. So many Monty Python fans. You for one. Yeah. And I'm not a massive Monty Python fan, but I can appreciate the enormity of it. And if he had said no, could you imagine? Mental.
Well, if it wasn't for Monty Python and the Holy Grail, we wouldn't have had some of the lines in our panto.
No, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
And a lot of our favourite comedians always say that they started because they saw Monty Python.
Yep. And we've got Sir David Attenborough to thank for that.
That's a crazy sentence.
Yeah. He oversaw the change to colour television as well in 1967, where he introduced snooker to the BBC, which was a good idea considering how the balls were all coloured. He's also commissioned the landmark series Civilization, broadcast in 1969 and presented by historian Sir Kenneth Clarke, which pioneered the concept of the authored documentary.
He did so much for TV. Why? I would say, why is he only known for the nature documentaries? But there's so much that I did not know.
Honestly, researched about him, and I've got a copy of his autobiography. It's like, what on earth? What? How did you have the time to do all this?
A very good wife to help at home.
Yes. Yes.
Um, Meanwhile, Sir David continued to present his wildlife programs, travelling to capture animals in their natural environments, such as elephants in Tanzania, Africa in 1969, as well as Bali in Indonesia. He's also credited for joining the first Western expedition to seek out a lost tribe in New Guinea as part of the 1971 film A Blank on the Map.
So David wasn't flawless, mind you. He did have to cut a lot of costs, including axing a TV series by award-winning playwright Alan Bennett, which he said he later came to regret. He also turned down an application by an Irish presenter, as they already had one at the time, though he was quick to add that it was no reflection on the talents of the applicant. That unsuccessful applicant was none other than the late great Sir Terry Wogan. Anybody who listened to this breakfast show on BBC Radio 2, or his excellent, though sometimes naughty commentary on Eurovision across the years, probably realised this was a bit of a facepalm moment. But he wouldn't have then gone into radio.
No. It's the domino effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. His successes were good for his career, however, and in 1969 he was promoted to Director of Programmes, putting him in charge of the output for both of the BBC channels at the time. In 1972 he was suggested for the role of Director General of the BBC as a whole, and it was not something that it appealed to Sir David, and in the early 1973 he retired from his post as Protector of Programmes, choosing instead to focus on making programmes and working on what would become an epic of nature history broadcasting.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if he took that role as Director General and all we knew was Sir David Attenborough, Director General of, he might not even be a Sir.
For 20 years, he was in charge of the whole BBC, pretty much. That's mental.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it was only 2 channels. Could you imagine the BBC just having 2 channels?
Well, yes.
Yeah. I mean, we remember a time when ITV was called Granada and there's only one of them.
Again, I remember Channel 5 opening.
Oh my God, yeah.
Spice Girls
a whole
did a
other
song
channel
for it. Yeah. They launched it and Spice Girls did the song for the launch.
Spice Girls. What happened to them, eh?
We are so old.
We're vintage. So
I like that.
Yeah. Well, apparently, if you're over 25, you're vintage.
Oh,
we've probably just horrified some people.
Get in the bin. 25 is
Well, it is in clothing. Over 25 years is vintage clothing.
That can still get in the bin.
Now working as a freelance broadcaster, Sir David continued to work alongside the BBC Natural History Unit, travelling to Indonesia in 1973 for Eastwards with Attenborough, then being invited to lecture at the Royal Institute for their Christmas lecture, discussing the language of animals, which can be viewed on the Royal Institution website and lasts for just under an hour. To have been in that auditorium, especially as he actually brought live animals in. And there's a lovely little bit of footage of him with a very, very clingy little lemur eating grapes.
Have you watched it?
I've watched clips of it. I haven't watched the whole thing yet.
Yeah, that is crazy. It's good that it was recorded, though. So people can watch it now.
And it's still, all you need to do is just search David Attenborough Royal Institute Christmas Lecture, and it's up there. It's on their website, and it's also on YouTube.
Nice. Unfortunately, his travels and plans had a big price tag. So in order to secure funding, as well as working with the BBC, he also signed up with the American company Turner Broadcasting. He continued to work on projects with the BBC, such as The Tribal Eye and Fabulous Animals, but he had a bigger ambition, which he was already working on the script for. This was given the go-ahead in 1976, when the BBC and Turner Broadcasting signed a deal to work together, and Life on Earth began production.
That Fabulous Animals, by the way, that was a cryptozoology show for kids, and included things like unicorns and griffins.
That is cool.
So David Attenborough talking about unicorns, I would pay to see that.
I'm ready to find this.
Yep. Amongst many other accolades, all well-deserved, Sir David holds the distinction in 1979 of being the first broadcaster to report back to the West, in inverted commas, from the People's Republic of China, discussing the then newly implemented population control measure, later abolished in 2015, known as the one-child policy, whereby houses in mainland China were restricted to having a single child.
On his return in 1979, Life on Earth was broadcast as a series, featuring up-to-date research from eminent scientists who previously had held a level of distrust for some natural history broadcasts. The programme featured state-of-the-art filmmaking techniques that allowed the team to achieve perfect wildlife shots. While Sir David did appear on the screen at times, meaning he was able to travel effectively around the globe thanks to the improvements in international air travel and a healthy programming budget, he preferred to give over more of his screen time to the animals, which was the subject of his program.
And that is a lot of his programs, including Life on Earth, that's available on the BBC, on BBC iPlayer. And I was watching some of it yesterday, and the opening title sequence, very, very 70s, 100% 70s. But some of the shots, it's hard to believe they were made in the 70s. If it wasn't for like the grainy texture, you'd think that they were done now, including some like the microscopic animals.
Wow.
So what the hell? And you also see him riding on a donkey down the side of the Grand Canyon. And he's just there, like this massive steep ridge down the side of the Grand Canyon, riding one hand, the other hand just casually at his side. And it's the only time ever in my life I've looked at Sir David Attenborough and thought, you cocky sod.
Amazing.
But yeah, it was...
If anyone would.
Yeah. I mean, I would be clinging on for dear life. I would be hugging that donkey so much that I'd buy it a drink afterwards. Life on Earth was a huge success, and it paved the way for a new generation of nature documentary. In 1984, the BBC followed up with The Living Planet, in which Attenborough focused more on ecology and adaptation, showcasing his love of the theory of evolution and Darwin's work on the origin of species, which Sir David has recently cited in an interview as being one of the most influential books he has ever read. I mean, fair. We did actually discuss this and broadly cover the concepts of evolution and natural selection in our 2019 special audience requested episode, It's Natural We Would Make This Selection. Nice little plug there.
Nice, well done. The Living Planet was another huge success, creating an impressive amount of sales, not just in the UK, but internationally for the BBC, and receiving great critical acclaim. It looked at how animals and other living things adapted to their environment and paved the way for a final instalment in this epic trilogy, The Trials of Life. This was released in 1990, which took a look at animal behaviour throughout their respective lives. In fact, as we are doing the research for this episode, we have Life on Earth on in the background. It's hard to keep our focus on this and off the show.
Yeah. Although originally a trilogy, Attenborough wasn't done with the Life series, and in the 90s he created a series of shows in that vein, each with a specific focus, such as Life in the Freezer, which was about the Arctic, The Private Life of Plants, and The Life of Birds, although the latter was a challenge as he wasn't really an expert on birds, and so he focused more on their behaviour. I refuse to believe that he's not an expert on every animal.
Yeah, I refuse to believe that.
Although apparently he really doesn't like rats.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. By this point, Sir David was past the normal retirement age of 65, being into his 70s, and at the point that The Life of Birds came out in 1998, and sadly made a widower the year before with the death of his beloved wife. While most normal people would slow down at this time, his age and the loss of his love seemingly only to spur him on. With advances in technology on his side, both in filming and in science, he could only lead to bigger and better discoveries, but it would soon start to come with some stark warnings.
In 2002, Attenborough released The Life of Mammals, calling on infrared and similar cameras to be able to give his audience a rare glimpse at the otherwise hidden nature of nocturnal mammals, using clever camera angles to be able to be in the vicinity of some of the more dangerous or elusive mammals without being directly in danger himself. I think from that one, there's a great shot of him as like he's in the foreground and there's this massive bear in the background. You're like, from the way the camera angle is, you think he's only a couple of feet away from the bear, but he's quite a way off, and like he's going to get eaten. We're going to watch him eaten on TV.
well, we didn't, because he's 100 now, so we know he yes. didn't get eaten by the bear.
Oh, spoilers.
Sorry. Finally, in 2008, a DVD compilation of the Life series was completed with Life in a Cold Blood, focusing on reptiles and amphibians, and the almost encyclopedic series became known as Life on Land. It had taken 20 years to compile everything that was needed to create Life on Land, and even at its completion, Sir David remained humble, saying, "I'm sure others will come along and tell it much better than I did, but I do hope that if people watch it in 50 years' time, it will still have something to say about the world we live in." I'm sure there's no doubt that people will be watching these documentaries for more than 50 years, if we're still around then. We know there are many wildlife programmes narrated by celebrities with wonderful voices such as Morgan Freeman, David Tennant and Benedict Cumberbatch. But as far as this genre goes, to quote the eminent poet Carly Simpson, nobody does it better.
Yep.
Penguins.
Yeah, penguins or penguins. I've never heard one person say penguin so many different ways. Bless him.
Well, yeah, he can't all be perfect.
That's true. It turns out, though, that there was one more story to tell in the Life on Earth series, and for that, Attenborough would have to go back to the very beginning. Released in 2010, the year he graduated, in fact, First Life was released, looking at the history of evolution even before Life on Earth. Whilst Life on Earth, particularly the first few episodes, does mention prehistoric series based on fossil evidence, First Life delves even deeper into this subject, furnished with modern scientific understanding and some beautiful visuals.
Whilst the Life series was his most popular and main focus, Sir David was still busy on other projects as well. I mean, he had to fund his work. He presented countless other television documentaries, including The First Eden in 1987, set in the Mediterranean basin, and Lost Worlds, Vanished Lives in 1989, where he really showcased his love for the knowledge of fossils.
As well as a natural world, Attenborough had a great passion for music, and as well as appearing on an episode of Desert Island Discs, he also appeared on several episodes of the long-running show Face the Music, which is like a panel game show focused on classical music on the BBC.
Fun. He also loaned his instantly recognisable voice to every single episode of Wildlife on One, airing on the BBC between 1977 and 2005, a whopping 253 episodes. He has also narrated between 50 and 60 episodes of The Natural World on BBC Two, as well as a number of BBC wildlife specials. He worked again with the BBC Natural History Unit in 2001 under Alistair Fothergill to make the incredible ocean epic The Blue Planet, which Sir David wrote and narrated, reuniting in 2006 for Planet Earth. This was remarkable as not only is it touted as the biggest nature documentary ever made for television, it was also the first BBC wildlife series to be filmed in HD. I can still remember the adverts for the HD TV showing the clips from that show, and oh my god, did it make a difference.
Yeah, it's just like you could see the old way of doing it with like a blade of grass and a little bug, and then the new way of doing it under HD, and you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah, my dad is obsessed with pretty much anything David Attenborough, but Blue Planet and was on, or whenever it's on, if it's repeated, it is watched always.
Yeah. In 2009, the BBC commissioned Attenborough to write and record a series of short segments around 10 minutes each in length for Radio 4 around the history of nature, called David Attenborough's Life Stories. But as wonderful as his stories and voice are, the creatures and fossils he talked about are always better seen where possible.
So in 2011, now in his mid-80s, Sir David again teamed up with Fothergill to create a series set in the polar regions called Frozen Planet, where Sir David not only narrated but also appeared on screen. Whilst this show was met with great acclaim, the BBC made a strategic decision which has since been criticised. The final episode of this 7-part series focused on climate change and how it is affecting the polar landforms such as glaciers, ice shelves and sea ice, not to mention the impact on the wildlife of the regions. It is a very profound and poignant watch with a very important message. However, the BBC elected to make that 7th episode optional to air for countries where the issue of climate change may be considered politically sensitive. In the US, the Discovery Channel was one such channel that opted to only show 6 episodes, but eventually realising the value of the message, they started broadcasting the 7th later on.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not an extremist, but when it comes to climate change does not care about your policies and your politics.
No, it's happening.
Yeah, how do you expect? Yeah, how do you expect people
ignoring
to
it
understand?
Doesn't make it go away. Yeah,
exactly. You need to educate people.
Mm-hmm.
Frozen Planet won a total of 4 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Non-Fiction Series, and was so well received that a sequel was created and released in 2022, Frozen Planet 2, imaginative name, which branched out to cover other frozen habitats beyond the polar regions while still emphasising the growing threat of climate change. It's in these decades that we see Sir David Attenborough's work focus not just on the wonders of the natural world and how they came to be, but also increased focus on conservation and education on how we can make a difference to save those animals and habitats that are endangered or on the verge of extinction.
Sir David continued his narration work, including projects such as Life Story, the first 4K production for the BBC Natural History Unit. He then went on and narrated Planet Earth 2 in 2016, a stunning sequel with the theme music composed by legendary film and television composer Hans Zimmer, who was around 30 years Sir David's junior at the time that the show was released in Sir David's 90th year.
Yep.
Carries round a fact.
By his 100th birthday, Sir David Attenborough is the only person in television history to date to have won BAFTA awards for programmes in black and white, colour, HD, 3D, and 4K.
Carries round a fact.
Thank you, that was beautiful.
Thank you. I like doing that.
I love your little jingle.
Hey.
In between other radio and television projects, Sir David began a working relationship with Sky, narrating their first 3D documentaries, including Flying Monsters 3D, about pterosaurs, and The Penguin King 3D. He also made one of my favourite Sir David Attenborough documentaries, David Attenborough's Natural History Museum Alive, where he discussed... Oh, I love it. He discusses some of the various exhibits in London's Natural History Museum, whilst the magic of CGI brought the creatures back to life. And Sir David interacts with them. His childlike excitement, especially in the Dodo episode, is wonderful to watch, and it's seriously infectious. Like, he looks so happy.
And he stood, I think it might just be introducing it, and obviously you've got the big skeleton in the Natural History Museum, and that just starts moving, and your brain is like, holy shit, this is so cool.
It's like Sir David Attenborough meets Night at the Museum.
Facts.
Yep.
Oh, so good. In 2017, Blue Planet 2 debuted, achieving the highest viewing figure of any broadcast that year in the UK of 14.1 million, which is mental considering all of the streaming services that are now and were available in 2017, that it's hard to get that sort of numbers on the viewing, not streamed afterwards, on the actual day. That's crazy. That stunning show, so that stunning show is credited with highlighting and triggering the public interest in and early understanding of the extent of plastic pollution in our oceans. It is hard to watch the show without tears. In 2018, his broadcasting continued with the series Dynasties, where each episode spotlighted a particular animal species, allowing for an in-depth focus. My only issue with the Blue Planet is I'm terrified of the ocean, of deep ocean. Scares me because obviously we've barely scratched the surface on what we've found in the ocean, and the things that are in there that are big, there's probably bigger, and by the time you see that whale, you're too close to that whale. That scares me.
What scares you about it is what fascinates me about it is the fact that it's so big and there's so much down there and it's so pretty. But you're like, no.
No, thank you.
10 out of 10, do not recommend. By the time you see
something big, it's too late. Oh, you can see that shark. Oh, that's because it's already going to eat you. Oh,
it's that when you see the shadow in the distance and you're like, shark, whale, friend, foe.
Yep. No, thank you.
Yeah. Swim away. In 2020, the COVID pandemic hit and broadcasting slowed, but it didn't mean that Sir David stopped. He did continue working on projects both on and off screen during that time, and he returned with a bang, going back to his prehistoric and fossil passions with the educational yet deeply tragic Dinosaurs: The Final Day. I cried. And Prehistoric Planet, both released in early 2022. Turning the focus closer to home, 2025 saw the release of Wild London, where Sir David focused on the wildlife of our capital city here in the UK and got very excited over a fox.
I mean, why
Foxes
not?
Are cute, though. They are cute.
They sound horrendous. Have you heard of fox?
I have heard foxes screaming, and usually at the most inopportune moment as well. You just hear them screaming and you're like, what the hell? Especially late at night.
What is that?
If you're out. Yep. It's terrifying.
Yep. As well as working with Sky and the BBC, Sir David also teamed up with streaming service Netflix to narrate the 8-part series Our Planet in 2019, which emphasised the impact of destructive human activities throughout the series, as opposed to his previous methods of highlighting them in the final episode of a series. Later that same year, he created a documentary for the BBC called Climate Change: The Facts. This work took on a much more serious and grave tone than any of his previous works, and it was very much called for. He then followed it up with Extinction: The Facts, which, as opposed to trying to scare people, simply provided the facts as presented by a 2019 report from the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, or IPBES for short, because that is a mouthful.
Yep.
On the decline of biodiversity, which is when species decrease or become rare in a specific area, and in cases become extinct and disappear entirely from the earth, something which has happened at an increasing rate as humanity has progressed, in inverted commas.
Progression, but at what cost?
Fact.
In 2020, Sir David narrated the documentary David Attenborough, A Life on Our Planet, in which he reflected on his illustrious career, as well as his hopes for the future. A very uplifting and hopeful outlook, but also a wonderful chance to hear about this great man in his own words.
In 2021, Sir David was a key figure at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, known as COP 2026, and gave a stirring and powerful speech at the opening ceremony. It was powerful, but it was also helpful, with Sir David saying that, and I quote, "Humans are the greatest problem solvers to have ever existed on Earth."
Whilst criticised early on for not showing quite the extent of damage to the environment that humans are doing by some environmentalists, that actually said that he showcased too much of a fluffy outlook with the beauty and wonder of nature. Like, you've got to get people to care for things first. So I kind of get it. It's clear to see that Sir David's messaging has become increasingly urgent and profound in more recent years, particularly within the last decade. Some of the off-camera work he's done includes backing a project by charity BirdLife International to prevent long-line fishing boats from killing the albatross, as well as lending support and weight to the WWF, the World Wildlife Fund, not the wrestling, campaign to designate around 220,000 square kilometres, which is about 85,000 square miles, of rainforest in Borneo, designated as a protected area to prevent poaching and deforestation.
That doesn't surprise me that he's done that.
He's done, does a lot behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's crazy. He is also the Vice President of the Conservation Volunteers, Vice President of Fauna and Flora International, President of Butterfly Conservation, and an Honorary President or President
Emeritus.
Don't give me Latin to say, of Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust, celebrating where he grew up.
Don't worry, you get your own back in a bit.
Good.
Attenborough has also led an appeal on behalf of the World Land Trust to create a protective rainforest in Ecuador in memory of his good friend and producer of Life on Earth, Christopher Parsons, who passed in 2002. He also took Parsons' project Archive forward, which is an initiative focused on promoting the conservation of the world's threatened species through the power of wildlife imagery. Like we said, let people see them, make people care about them. Basically, get the world to fall in love with them and want to protect them.
Whilst the pandemic was ongoing, Sir David was busy advocating on behalf of the Zoological Society of London, the ZSL, to support the conservation efforts, which the pandemic was greatly impacted. His work with the royal family also went from strength to strength, with him now being named as a member of the Earthshot Prize Council, an initiative created by the now Prince of Wales, Prince William, awarding and recognising the work of those people and groups around the world who work to find solutions to environmental issues.
Though it has earned him criticism from a number of quarters, Sir David is a proponent of sustainable population control amongst humans, including family planning and sustainable consumption, basing his views on studies carried out by others and involving him relating to the effects of the ever-increasing human population on the environment. He's also a proponent for reduction of meat consumption or a fully vegetarian diet. Sorry, Sir David, that's the only thing we disagree on, because reduction of meat, yeah, totally get. Couldn't be full vegetarian, not whilst there's steak in the world.
Steak and bacon.
Yep.
Steak and bacon. Ooh. Steakin'. Yeah. Anyway, but Sir David's ideas on population control don't just look at the population restriction in its purest form. He actually looks at education and, most influentially, improving the rights of women around the world as a way to create sensible population control, and is quoted as saying, "Anyone who thinks that you can have infinite growth in a finite environment is either a madman or an economist."
Nice little dig there.
Yeah, he's great. He does refer to himself as a left-wing liberal, which makes complete sense. But his focus is on improvement through education, understanding and compassion. And he can really back those views up with a now century of life on this planet.
Exactly. In 2022, Sir David was recognised as a champion of the Earth by the United Nations Environment Programme. And he's also been knighted twice now.
Firstly, so is he Sir David?
He's still Sir David, but he's been knighted to 2 different orders.
Nah, he's Sir David now.
Yeah, Sir David. Mm-hmm. Sir with like Sir's in capitals, all capitals.
Sir David.
Yep. Firstly, as a Knight Bachelor in 1985 by Queen Elizabeth II, and then again in 2022 by Prince Charles, or now King Charles, as a Knight of the Grand Cross of the Order of St. Michael and St. George. And honestly, there is no better knight in shining armour to champion our planet. It's up to us now, though, to listen to him, learn from him, and follow in his footsteps.
Whilst he is a treasure and a wonder, we must also acknowledge that he is human. And 100 years is an incredible achievement for anybody, and it hasn't been without some wear and tear. He has had a pacemaker fitted since June 2013 and had both knees replaced. Hardly surprising, seeing some of the terrain he has scrabbled over in his life. But he refuses to retire, considering himself lucky to be swanning around the world looking at the most fabulously interesting things. It is that passion, that enthusiasm, and even at 100 years old, that childlike wonder at the world around him that truly makes Sir David Attenborough a national treasure and a global hero.
I mean, you can see even in the outtakes for some of the things he did. I think it was either a lyrebird or another bird from the Americas, and he's standing underneath it talking. And as he's talking, it keeps going off, and he's just looking at it, and he's just got this massive grin on his face, and he lights up, even though it's interrupting him. It's like, this is costing me money, but this is great. He loves it. It's really, really sweet.
Amazing.
On the 8th of May 2026, in honour of his 100th birthday, Sir David was honoured by people and organisations across the world, showcasing what a global and profound reach he's had over his career. He's received thousands of birthday cards, his poor postman, including one from King Charles III, recalling when they first met in 1958, around 68 years ago. Despite anticipating that his 100th birthday would be a quiet affair, he instead attended a gala concert held in his honour at the Royal Albert Hall, featuring much celebration of his life by those who love him, including William, Prince of Wales.
Amongst his many appearances, making him a household name, he has received a number of well-earned awards for his work. He has been referred to as the peerless educator and the greatest broadcaster of our time. In 2024, he was awarded the Stephen Hawking Medal for Science Communication at the Starmers Festival, making him a Lifetime Achievement winner in recognition of his contributions to public science communication. He couldn't be there in person, so his award was accepted on his behalf by none other than the iconic guitarist from Queen and respected astrophysicist Brian May.
I mean, imagine being that cool that Brian May accepts an award on your behalf.
There's not many people I think can say that he'd do that for.
Well, actually, I've counted. I think he's won upwards of about 50 awards in his lifetime. That's insane.
Insane, but not surprising.
Well, no, true. Sir David has collected over 30 honorary degrees from British universities, including he's very decorated, including an honorary doctorate of science from Durham University and the University of Cambridge, as well as honorary PhDs or Doctor of Philosophy from the University of Oxford and Ghent University. In 2006, he and his older brother Richard Attenborough received the titles of Distinguished Honorary Fellows of the University of Leicester, and Sir David also received an honorary doctorate of letters degree by the same university and was made a Freeman of the City of Leicester in 1990. He was also made an honorary Freeman of the City of Bristol in 2013 and was awarded an honorary doctorates in 2010 from the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University and Nottingham Trent University.
He also received the title of Honorary Fellow from the Clare College in Cambridge in 1980, the Zoological Society of London in 1998, the Linnean Society in 1999, the Institute of Biology, now the Royal Society of Biology, in 2000, and the Society of Antiquities in 2007. As well as all that, he is also an honorary patron of the North American Native Plant Society, a patron of the Museum of Richmond, and was elected as a corresponding member of the Australian Academy of Science. Is there anywhere in this world that this man couldn't go and just be there and get something?
He's pretty much known everywhere. I'm pretty sure, like, if there's like a polar bear university in the Arctic, then they've awarded him an honorary bear degree.
Absolutely.
Honorary paw. Right, this is I've taken this bit and just to be kind, but I may fluff it up majorly.
Even you. So if you're going to fluff it up, I absolutely would have done. So I'm intrigued to hear how you do this.
Yep.
So I can see how these words are written.
One of the best accolades, though, considering his work, is that he has more than 20 species, sometimes up to 50, we think, of species and genera named after him, both living and extinct, including a dinosaur. So let's have a go at some of the pronunciations of just a few of them.
I'm excited.
We've got Attenborough's hawkweed, also known as Hieracium attenboroughanium, a small hardy hawkweed found in the Brecon Beacons in Wales.
Nice.
Attenborough's pitcher plant, Nepenthes attenboroughii, an endangered carnivorous plant native to the Philippines. Attenborough's gnatcatcher, which sounds mildly painful, Polioptila attenboroughii, a species of grey-coloured gnatcatcher found in Brazil. I'll admit I have no idea what a gnatcatcher is.
I don't want to Google it.
No.
It sounds like it might be one of those things that you don't need to see.
Yeah, definitely don't Google it at work if you listen to this at work. Attenboroughsaurus coneybeari. Coneybeari sounds cute. It's a dinosaur that lived in Europe during the early Jurassic period.
So cool.
Oh, Lord.
Come on, you got this, dude.
Ctenocaloides attenboroughii, a ghost shrimp with pectinate claw fingers from Madagascar. That's not going to make you want to go in the water any sooner if there's ghost shrimp.
No, thank you.
Orolilumina attenboroughii, a 560 million year old creature believed to be the first animal predator.
That is a very cool thing to be named after.
That is very cool. Matapisis attenboroughii, a placoderm fish fossil found in the Gogo area of northwestern Australia. And Blackia attenboroughii, a spectacular species of tree found only in Ecuador, which is where he wanted to...
He's literally got so many different... Yeah. Not just animals named after him.
Animals, fossils, plants.
Incredible.
Everything.
I bet he's well happy about them.
Probably. And the thing, like, in 100 years, 150, 200 years' time, people will still be referring to those with that name. He will still be there.
Absolutely. Amongst his vast body of work and around 50 awards and accolades throughout his career, Sir David has written and narrated an audiobook of his autobiography, Life on Air, which Carrie has a copy of, and it is well worth a read or a listen to hear the story of his life in his own words.
Admittedly, I've got the book, I haven't got the audiobook, but knowing how relaxing his voice is and how he instantly puts you at ease, I would fall asleep and I'd feel really, really bad for it.
Yeah. But I would get that. If you want to listen to it while he's still here, because I got the Matthew Perry one afterwards and I haven't been able to listen to it because he is saying, yeah, you won't want to hear his voice after.
Whilst I've seen clips of it, I haven't been able to watch any episodes of Crocodile Hunter since Steve Irwin passed because it makes it feel so surreal, doesn't it?
You need to watch the new one with his family called Crikey with the Irwins.
Oh, yeah, I've watched those ones. Those are nice.
Oh, they're really cool. I like them.
His family have done an incredible job. Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, we might do Steve Irwin and just the Irwins in general in a later episode. You never know.
I'm surprised you haven't brought that up to do that yet.
You know what? I've been thinking so much in the past that I haven't really considered it so far. Yeah. There is little left to say about Sir David Attenborough, and though we have done our best to showcase his life and work in his episode, we don't feel like words have quite done him justice, and there's still a lot that we haven't covered that he's done. We doubt he's ever going to listen to this, but if he ever did, here's what we'd like to say to him. I mean, thank you is a good start, but thank you not just for showing us these animals, but for doing it with such an enthusiasm and such a passion, because it's very easy to sit there and just say, oh, look, this is, I don't know, an African dick or something. That's the first animal that came to my head. And just really, really bore people about it.
Yeah.
But he gives it such a passion that you're like, oh my God, that's such an amazing animal.
Yeah, he hasn't made nature documentaries boring, because it used to be you had to be into that kind of nature to kind of give a shit about any of it.
Yeah.
It'd be like, oh, I'm not watching that because I don't care. That's fine. It's like you have to really be interested to watch it. For example, if there's a program about trains, you'd only watch it if you're really into trains.
Yeah.
But So David kind of makes, even if you don't particularly like it, he makes it interesting.
Yeah.
And that is very clever and very hard to do.
And the way he appeals not just to your mind and your conscience, but also to your heart, especially around climate change. He speaks to you, yes, as a teacher speaking to a student, but he also, in a way, speaks to you like a parent speaking to a child. But in the nicest possible way. He's like, we can do this together. And he's always got that level of hope. Yes. So I think the day we ever hear Sir David Attenborough despair, we're just like, nope, it's over. It's done with.
The thing is, though, he's 100 years old. So he was born in 1926.
Yep.
The shit that the world has been through in these 100 years that he
and
has
some
been
of the things
part
we've
of,
done. Yeah.
And he still has hope. He's been there for obviously the Second World War. He was just at the end of born at the end of the First World War, so he would have seen parents, grandparents still getting over that, as well as all the other wars, as well as
and
pollution,
as
well as the Great Depression, as well as pandemics. Like, he's seen everything, but he still has hope. That is incredible.
It's kind of, there's him and there's Professor Stephen Hawking in that vein, where one of the greatest things that Hawking ever said was, where there is life, there is hope. And he's very much that same kind of vein by saying that, you know, we're the greatest problem solvers to have ever existed. So we can get ourselves out of this. And I think also he's aware, and I hate to say this, he's aware that he personally is running out of time.
Well, not many people get to 100.
Well, yeah, but he said he has no fear of death. But what he wants, he has hope for the future and hope for the youth. And it's like, that is incredible, to not fear what comes next, to actually have hope that he and others that he's worked with have done enough to keep this world going long after him.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And he's done so much more than I thought. The BBC stuff and the Monty Python stuff and the Sir Terry Wogan stuff has blown my actual mind.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any of that. Imagine how much TV we just wouldn't have.
Yeah.
People we wouldn't have because of him. That has blown my brain.
BBC too, because BBC One was like your entertainment programmes and like your Doctor Who and things. And then BBC Two was a mix of like your comedy, but also your factual programmes.
It kind of is still like that.
Yeah. And that was because of him. He set that format up. And how many nature documentaries now are going because of him? Like, he walked so they could run, kind of thing.
Oh, God, yeah. Snooker's still on BBC Two all the time.
Yeah.
That's because of him.
And in colour. Otherwise, how would you know what ball you're hitting? I mean, I would assume that people there would know, but yeah, how would we know?
We're going to end this podcast on how to know what ball you're hitting, Carrie.
You know what? That works
fine. We do normally finish our episodes, as you all know, if you are listeners of A Nice Cup of History Tea, on a ridiculous death. But we don't want to have a ridiculous death in this episode because we're celebrating someone's extraordinary life.
Yes.
We did think about doing a ridiculous animal.
Yeah.
But the only one we could kind of think of was the platypus.
Which, to be fair, it's like, yeah, it is pretty damn ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure it's got an ecological, like every animal has an ecological purpose. Like predator, prey, population control, like control of the grass and the ecosystem, etc. They've all got a purpose. I'm not sure about the platypus. I think that is just one where the gods were like, let's give it a try.
Fair enough. I mean, the duck-bill platypus is, apparently it has a duck-like bill, obviously. Yep. Has a beaver-like tail, and otter-like fur. And the males also have stingers on their hind feet.
Yep. And they lay eggs. They're mammals, but they lay eggs.
Yep.
And they don't have teats like mammals do. They just kind of secrete their milk through little holes, like pores in their skin.
Yep.
Yeah.
They also have no teeth.
Yep.
They use grinding pads to chew their food. So I don't honestly know this is going to sound mean, but what is the point of them? Also, I've just found these out and this is really cool. You've heard of echolocation, right? Using sound to see? Yeah. That's like how whales use it and stuff. Yeah, whales, bats, they use electrolocation. So they actually detect electrical signals. It's like,
How did what? Why? And they can then find prey underwater using the electrical signals because electricity travels well in water. But also they are biofluorescent, which means they glow under UV light.
And one thing that I have just seen, that they very first came to Great Britain, a specimen was brought over to Great Britain in the late 18th century. Scientists believed it was a taxidermy hoax, that someone had sewn a duck's bill onto a beaver.
I mean, I get it. I do get it.
I understand.
Also,
I do still kind of want to have one.
I would love to see one, like, in the wild would be great, but also in captivity, just to actually see one, because I've seen loads of videos and photos and everything of one. I cannot make sense of, evolutionarily speaking, I had to say that slowly, how it's survival of the fittest, right? And that doesn't mean the strongest, that means the fittest to your environment. What makes that the fittest to its environment that other animals don't have that adaptation to make it the fittest to its environment? It's the fact that the young ones have teeth, by the way. The adults don't have teeth, they've got pads, but the young ones have teeth.
It must have been one day there was this horny duck and this horny beaver, and they made a duckbill platypus, and that is just gone.
They just got drunk, and then the morning after, like, what have I done?
What have we done?
Yep.
But do you remember a little Sir David thing that I've just remembered with me and you? Do you remember forever? Everyone always says octopi,
yes.
for plural of octopus. And we then were watching, I think either we were together or we were watching it separately but messaging.
Yeah.
And we were like, did Sir David just say octopuses? And we were like, but it's octopi. And they're like, no, Sir David wouldn't get it wrong. Sir David would know if it's octopi or octopuses. And we had this whole conversation about it. And we were like, if Sir David said octopuses, the plural of octopus is octopuses. And and I was like, we then went on the spot. I was like, is cacti cactuses? And no, cacti is cacti. But
hippopotami is hippopotamuses.
Yeah. But if Sir David, but I remember us being like, what did he just say? Excuse me?
It's one of those things. If Sir David Attenborough or Stephen Fry says it, it's true. It's got to be true.
Sir David and Uncle Stephen, they say anything that is what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Canon?
Yes. Oh yeah, it's canon. It's true.
Yeah.
Like, it's
true. They've said it. That's it. Done.
Yep. Somewhere under the 10 Commandments is now an 11th commandment that says, "Thou shalt not call octopus, plural of octopus, octopi. It is octopuses."
Yep, because Sir David said so.
Yep.
On that note, we'll say bye. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for everyone who's listened to our comeback, because this is obviously episode 4 in our brand new series. From our big hiatus that we come back from, because, writing books and such. But we are back. If you want to buy our books are on sale now. The first 2 in the Strange Ways to Die series. So Strange Ways to Die in the Tudor Ages and Strange Ways to Die in the Dark Ages. They both follow the lines of our Ridiculous Deaths segments. So if you like those segments on our podcast, you will most probably like our books. You can buy them from anywhere you get books, really. Waterstones, Amazon, Barnes & Noble have it, Walmart have it. So
it's so weird.
It is. So anywhere you get books, you will find it.
And we are currently the first one. Tudor Ages is also available as an ebook as well as hardback.
It is available on Kindle, which is very exciting. And we're in the process of writing a 3rd book. Not the 3rd in this series, the 1st in a different series.
Yes.
So we're still very, very busy, but I'm enjoying being back. It is fun, and I'm glad that we got to do Sir David.
Yes, it was a last minute decision. She was like, "Oh, it's his birthday. Let's do Sir David."
Yes. So in 2 weeks we will be you will be hearing.
Oh gosh, what one's in 2 weeks?
It does not bode well.
It will either be a special mythological episode about King Arthur or about the 7 wonders of the ancient world.
That was it. The 7 wonders of the world. And then our next dark cup of history is about one of a history mystery that annoys me to no great end, because the infamous murderer has never been caught. And I'll leave you with that little teaser.
It's not Jack the Ripper. We've already done Jack the Ripper.
We have done Jack the Ripper.
We have. Right. On that note, on that bombshell.
Happy birthday, Sir David.
Happy birthday, Sir David.
Happy birthday, Sir David.